Hi and welcome to Knitting Blooms. This is Sunday, June 26th, and this is episode 9. And I want to thank everybody who has continued to come back. We're 9 episodes in, and I really appreciate everybody watching, and I really just do this for you guys out there, so this is your podcast as much as it's mine. So if there's things that you would like to see on the podcast in the future, you can go to the thread on Ravelry, and I have a thread there that says, let me know what you'd like to see, and I will try and incorporate that into the show. If you're a first-time viewer, thank you for stopping by and checking us out. If you have any questions about the podcast, or again, if you'd like to see something on a future podcast, please go to the Ravelry thread and let me know. I also want to take a moment today to thank everybody who has posted an iTunes review or a star rating. I've noticed in the past few weeks that I have had a few star ratings, and then just this last week I had a huge explosion of reviews. So I thank you so much for those reviews. They really made my day when I got to check those out and see those. So thank you so much. So if you feel so inclined to go to iTunes and leave a review or a star rating, I would greatly appreciate it, as would all the other podcasters that you watch. Also, I know today that I definitely have new music in the podcast. I took some time yesterday and I actually figured out what the deal was, and I got the music put in, and I want to thank Bald Guru on Ravelry for creating that music for me. And it is at the beginning and the end of the show, and let me know what you think. I think it's pretty cool. So that's that. Also yesterday, I've had a busy week this week. I had a busy week at work, and then yesterday I decided that I was going to do that project bag demo that I had been promising. I think I just promised it last weekend, but it's like, once I say I want to do something, I'm going to just get it out of the way and do it so that I don't have to feel like it's being held over my head. So yesterday I did record a project bag tutorial. I think it's going to be about 45 minutes or so. I'm going to try and get that edited and posted by the middle of this week. So that's something to look forward to at midweek. And let's see, is there anything else that I need to speak about first thing? Nope, I think that's about it. So, this week, no finished objects. I think it's been the last 3 or 4 weeks that I've had a finished object every single week. And this week, I had finished so much stuff and I was so much along on everything else that those got finished in weeks past, and now this week, I wasn't able to finish anything. I had high hopes that I was going to get close to finishing one project, but no. So we'll go ahead and just jump into the whips. On the sock yarn blanket, I did all of, I think, 1 square this week. This square right here. I might have done 2. I might have done this square as well. I had it in my mind that I was ready to do this every single night or a couple nights. Last week I was ahead by 2 squares, and I thought, oh, I'm going to keep going on this. And this week, because I was so focused on another project, I just didn't work on it. I sat down and was going to work on it one day, and then I thought, no, I'm just going to do this other project. So I only got 2 squares on it this week. I am going to make a point to try and catch up this week, so that means that this week I have to do 9 squares to catch up for, oh no, I have to do 7 plus another 5. So I have to do 12 squares to catch up from last week. If I want to stay with my, excuse me, I don't know why my throat's, it's not dry, it just got something in it or something. By the way, I am drinking coffee this morning. Usually Oh, we've got Sammy coming. Usually I get up in the morning and I'll have my coffee and watch a few podcasts and knit and then record. Today I decided that I was going to just go ahead and get up and record right away because something inevitably happens, and for whatever reason the podcast doesn't get posted till way late in the afternoon or the evening when I record later in the day. This morning I decided to go ahead and record right away. I think it's maybe a little bit after. Well, it's about almost 9 o'clock now. So hopefully we'll get the podcast up earlier this week. So anyway, back to the sock yarn blanket. I'm hoping to work on this week, but I am really focused on trying to get the featherweight cardigan done because I want to start the Bacardi next weekend, and so we'll see if we get. I might just kind of put the sock yarn blanket on the back burner until I get the featherweight done, just because I want to get that done so I can start the Bacardi. I want to start it next weekend, and that might be the only way I can do it. So that is the sock yarn blanket, 2 squares, not very impressive, but the next 2 projects are not very impressive either. The Lady Eleanor, I did all of 3 blocks, and I cast on for the 4th block. I don't know, after the podcast last week, I was planning on just finishing this up because I did do the demo for the interlock last week, and I had just one little end that I was working on, and then I sat down and I did 3 more blocks. But again, I was focused on other things. It wasn't something that was calling to me or anything, so not much love on that project at all this week. And again, that one's the one that's been on the needles the longest, other than the sock yarn blanket. But the sock yarn blanket is meant to be a long-term project. The next one is the Baby Surprise, and this too, I did not knit 1 stitch on this week. In the same exact spot as last week. This is probably a project that I could finish pretty quickly, and I just didn't. Nothing this week on this one. So now that you've seen all of my non-knitting, I'll show you what I actually worked on this week. Starting with the featherweight. Last week I had just divided for the sleeves, and now I have finished the body. Last night I just was determined. I had started the ribbing late Friday night. I think I got 1 row on the ribbing started Friday night, and then yesterday I really didn't work on it all day because I did the project bag demo, and then I went out with my husband to a gun show, and I took my socks with me to knit while I was at the gun show. But last night I said, I just got to sit down, I got to get this ribbing done because I really would like to cast on for the collar today, which is what my plan is to do after I finish recording. My plan is to sit down and watch my podcast that I didn't get to watch this morning and knit. I might, and today it's supposed to be a beautiful day outside, so I'm hoping this is going to be the first day that's not 95 degrees and humid and not raining basically since spring and summer started. So I might actually take my iPod or my Kindle outside and sit in the gazebo and knit this afternoon. So this is coming right along. One thing I want to mention about this project, when I'm doing knitting for hire, a lot of times I time myself. Not to see how fast I'm knitting, but to kind of gauge to see how many hours I'm going to need to be putting into a project in order to finish it. Because in my mind, I have my own little deadline. Sometimes projects, when I do knitting for hires, there is a deadline. This particular person doesn't have specific deadlines, so she just says, you know, just do it. When you get it done, you get it done. But in my mind, I have a specific deadline when I start a project, because if I don't, then the project could linger on. If I'm enjoying a project, there's no problem. I'll get it done. It's quick. But if I'm not enjoying a project, and I kind of am enjoying this project now, the stockinette doesn't bother me. I can whip through it because I can watch TV shows and read and do, you know, tons of other things while I'm knitting. I don't have to worry about, you know, flubbing up the pattern. But in my mind, I like to have a deadline. And so I timed myself on the rows. And what I did after I had divided for the body, divided the sleeves out from the body, I timed myself doing the rows across the back. And it was taking me approximately 6 to 7 minutes, probably closer to 7 minutes, to do a row in stockinette, in purl or knit. Because what I would do is I would time myself for like 3 or 4 rows and then take the average. Then I got to the ribbing. And that knit one, purl one ribbing, that takes forever. And this is one time when I am glad that I took the time to practice continental knitting, because knitting continental style with the knit one, purl one ribbing is so much faster than throwing the yarn. Because when you throw the yarn, you have to throw your yarn for the knit and then move the yarn to the front, and then throw your yarn for the purl and then move your yarn to the back, and then so you're moving it twice for every single stitch. And that can really slow you down. Now, I didn't time myself for doing English style in the knit one, purl one. And the continental is, I believe I'm a lot faster, because with continental, even though with continental I cannot read and knit because I'm not that good where I can do it by feel just yet, because I just learned how to do continental within the last year or so. So I'm not proficient at it. It's not like that's the style that I've used. Whereas knitting English, where I throw my yarn, I can knit and read because I have enough feel with the yarn that I can just feel it and not have to look at it. Especially with even a knit one, purl one, I can feel whether I'm supposed to be doing a knit or a purl. Anyway, so I did, when I got to the ribbing, I did all continental style because it was just so much quicker, and I think it still took me about, I want to say 10 minutes, about 10 minutes to do a row. But I think that would have been that's a lot faster than what it would have taken me to do it English style. So the plan for today, again, is to cast on for the collar. The collar, I believe, is a straight stockinette for like 3.5 inches. So those rows are going to be a little bit longer than the body, because they're just going to go up one side and down the other for the collar, and it's going to be about 3.5 inches. But it shouldn't take me that long, only because the body, I mean, I was here last week just after casting off for the or dividing for the sleeves, and I did this much all week, and really I didn't have that much time to knit this week. At work, I pretty much didn't knit during my lunch. I ended up playing Sims because I really only had an hour, and I would just play Sims while I ate. And so really I only knit in the evenings this week. and then yesterday. And yesterday I barely worked on this project. I just did the last few rows of the ribbing. So I got quite a bit done in the few hours each evening that I got to knit on that project. So I'm hoping, I still don't think at this moment, unless I get a huge amount of time to knit at the office this week, I don't think I'm going to finish that by July 1st, which is when I want to start the Bacardi. But I will get pretty darn close. Hopefully I will get at least the collar done and one sleeve by next week. That will be my goal. The next project is the basic socks with a mock cable. And last week I had one toe started, and I was, I believe, almost to the heel of the second one. This week I have a heel and a foot on one, and I have almost a full sock. I just have to bind off. This is the sock that I took with me yesterday to the gun show, and I was probably about here at the gun show, and I excuse me, and I finished knitting. I think it was almost up to the ribbing. And last night, before I sat down to the featherweight, I did do the ribbing. I was going to cast off last night, but then I decided that I wasn't sure which bind off I was going to use. The last pair of socks I used the Jenny's Stretchy bind off, and I was thinking about using that. But then when I did the bind off for the featherweight cardigan, I did a knit two together, put the stitch back over, and I don't know if there's a special name for that bind off, but I do really like that bind off, so I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do on these socks. And I don't even know if it's a real bind off or it's just something that I thought I was doing. I think it is a real bind off, but I don't know. So it was a knit two together and then move the stitch back over, and then knit two together and then move the stitch back over. And it does leave it pretty stretchy. So I think that's what I'm going to do with these socks. I didn't, on this pair, you know, last week when I showed you the MLA socks, I told you that I like to knit my pattern up to the spot where it reaches my toe. And this pair, I didn't do that. I guess I was just at the point where I tried it on, it felt like it was long enough. I knew I was going to do at least an inch. I think this is just over an inch of ribbing. And I was good with that. I might even do a couple more rows of ribbing before I bind off to make it a full 2 inches of ribbing. But it still goes past my toe when I fold it down, just slightly, not much, but I did like how it felt on. And I'm guaranteed that these socks will be done next week, because this one is really a bind off away, and this one won't take that long, because really the pattern is so easy and quick, and it's a heavy fingering weight yarn, so they will go quickly. And I just started these last Saturday, and I did all that other knitting on the others, so they really are a quick project. So that is the basic socks with the mock cable. Oh, I did want to mention, I think I mentioned before, you obviously see that I work 2 socks at a time, magic loop on 2 separate needles. Okay? The reason that this happened was, originally when I decided I wanted to do something other than double points, I believe it was Cast On magazine came out, and they had come out with the 2 socks on 2 circulars. So I decided I wanted to try that, because I knew that I didn't want to do the whole second sock syndrome. So I did want to try the 2 socks at a time. And at the time I had not even heard of Magic Loop. So I purchased the needles and I started the pair of socks. And this was fine. It was a cuff down, and I rarely do cuff down anymore. I really prefer toe up socks, but it was a cuff down socks. I cast on, I started knitting. It was going along fine. My biggest complaint was that I had purchased 32-inch needles. So I had two 32-inch needles that I was working with. I was working with two circulars. And it ended up being just too octopusy. The length of the cable for two at a time and two needles was just too long. Really, I would recommend that if you're going to do two circular needles, that you use a 24-inch cable, because there's less extra cable. Well, so I did work on it for a while, and it just felt like it was taking forever, because when you're doing two at a time, you're knitting the front part of the sock of sock 1, then the front part of the sock 2, and then the back part of sock 2, and then the back part of sock 1. So you're doing a much bigger, you're using two separate balls, but you're doing a much bigger round. And it just felt to me like the progress was so slow. So, because I had the 32-inch needles, and then I learned about the magic loop, I thought, I have the equipment, so all I did was I took the needles off and I transferred them to a magic loop. And I've been doing magic loop ever since. I have never gone back to double points. I don't particularly like double points. I love to watch people knit with double points. I think that it is just fascinating just to watch people knit with them. I don't like the technique with double points. I do use double points for certain things that really you can't use magic loop for, but really you can use magic loop for everything. But I don't particularly like double points. Plus, most of my double points are bamboo, and I really prefer the metal needles, so we'll get into that later. Anyway, so when I get my socks, excuse me. When I get my yarn for my socks, I mentioned before that I have gotten to the point where I don't really like to make socks with 50-gram balls, because the two pairs that I have made with separate balls have been slightly different. Even though they were the same colorway and everything, they were slightly different. I either wound the yarn wrong, or they were still, I don't know. I can notice a difference. Probably anybody else looking at them would say they look the same to me. But I do have a lot of yarn that is 50-gram balls that I will eventually make socks out of, or maybe I'll find some other project that I can use it for. I don't know. But when I get my yarn in a hank, I first wind it into a ball, and then I put it on my scale and I wind off half of it. So then I will end up with two balls. And then I always have to, I wind the first half off, and then I rewind the second half, just so that it's a more comfortable ball, because the first ball, if you keep the first ball the way that it is, it's really gets really squishy quick, because it's already got half of it out. But so I just wind it off. But I do use a weight scale. You can get any kitchen scale that does grams. We ended up buying another kitchen scale after I bought my weight scale. I think I paid like $39 or $49 for my scale. But then my husband wanted a kitchen scale, so he went to Amazon, and I think he paid like $19 for one that had grams on it. And I think it might have even been cheaper than that, actually. Might have been $12. So then I decided I want a kitchen scale for my office, because when I'm on my regular diet plan that I like to be on when I'm trying to lose weight, I do like to weigh things out, and a lot of times I don't pre-prepare some things at home. I'll take it to work and just put it in the refrigerator or work. So I bought the same scale for work. So now I have a kitchen scale at home and at work that I can use to weigh my yarn, which makes it very convenient. So when I'm knitting at work and I need to weigh my ball for whatever reason to find out, like when I was weighing my ball for the summer mystery shawl to find out how many ounces or how many grams I was using per row, I had a scale right there. And it really does come in handy. And for even if as much as $20 for the scale, it's so beneficial to have it, you know, because there's been so many times that it has come in handy to use to weigh out 5-gram balls for the little sock yarn blanket swaps that I've done, you know. So if you don't have a kitchen scale that does grams for your yarn, I highly recommend getting one. You know, you can use it for your food and dietary needs too, but it's great for yarn. So that's my whips for this week. I did not start any new projects because I want to get those others done. I definitely am going to start the Bacardi next weekend. It's a long weekend. Work seems to be slowing down a little bit, so I'm hoping that I get some more time to knit at work this week. I'm just about caught up from all that busy time that we had. Although we did have a few storms this past weekend, so I don't know, we might end up getting more busy again. And my boss is going on vacation for the 4th of July weekend, so that usually slows things down a little bit. So hopefully, and then I have an extra day off on Monday, so hopefully I'll be able to get a lot of knitting done, and hopefully I will be able to get working on that Bacardi. Spinning. I did 0 spinning on my Yarn Hollow fiber. Not for any reason other than I was just working on everything else. So this got no love at all this week. I really do need to spin every day on this. And I'm going to try and do that during Tour de Fleece, which I think starts on July 3rd, I want to say. I'm not doing Tour de Fleece. I'm not participating per se in any groups or anything, but just for my spinning, I would like to spin every single day of that for at least 15 minutes. I'd like to spend 15 minutes on this, and then on Viola, I was trying this week to try and spin 45 minutes, like when I get home from work, come down and spin, watch a program, and spin for 45 minutes or 40 minutes or however long the program is on Netflix, and then go on with whatever else I had to do for the evening. But I only did that once this week, and I did spin a bit on Sunday after I recorded, but really not that much. So spinning got pretty much nothing done. So next on the agenda, and I'm looking over at the clock because I forgot to set my timer this morning, and the clock is exactly right in line with the stanchion, the pole in the that supports the house in my line of vision, so I can't see the clock straight on. So let's see, the prize drawing. Last week I mentioned that I'm going to be doing a prize drawing next weekend, episode 10, and it's all about telling me your yardage. We've got quite a number of people who have posted to the thread this week, and I am very impressed with some people's yardage. It makes me think that I really don't knit as much as I think I knit, or other people just knit a lot more than me. And I wish I could knit a lot more, but you know, you gotta pay the bills, and so you can't always knit. So the prize drawing is going to be tell me your yardage in the thread on Ravelry, and I'm going to do a drawing next week, And I'll probably do it before the show because it's just easier. Because what I'll do is, well, I don't know, because what I'll do is I'll put everybody's name on a spreadsheet with their yardage and then sort by the yardage. And then I could do a random number. So I could have that spreadsheet printed out beforehand. So I might do it live. We'll see. I'll think about that this week. It can be knitting. I know a couple people posted, this is my knitting, this is my crochet. I want to know all of your yarn crafts. So knitting, spinning, crochet, anything that you used yarn for. Tell me your yardage to date. This year to date. If you've already posted and you want to edit your post this week, you can do that. Just go back to the thread, find your post, click the edit button, and then change your amount. I will pull all the numbers off probably next Saturday night. So you have until Saturday, I think that's July 2nd, to post in the thread. And I'll lock it. I'll lock the thread when I have pulled the numbers off so nobody else can post in it, so you know if I've already pulled the numbers. But try and get your numbers in there. There's been, I have like 11,000 something yards to date. And again, I only count the yardage for projects that I've finished. I haven't counted the sock yarn blanket yardage. I am starting to keep track of that, so I know approximately how many yards that I've done. I'm going to probably underestimate that per square, but I'd rather have an idea of how many yardage I did. And yeah, so I haven't counted anything else that I've actually done. Just projects that I have finished in 2011. And again, you don't have to give me a number that's actual. You can say, oh, this is how many I knit, but this is what I wish I had knit. Just give me a number. Tell me whether it's actual, estimated, your wish list. And again, if you want to go and edit your totals, you can do that. So maybe you knit another 1,000 yards this week, or maybe you knit 500 yards this week and you want to add it to that total. So you can do that. I do have a couple of prizes, and if I can slide them out from under Sammy over here, that have been donated. And all of these things have been donated by Apple Blossom and More. And she has a website. It's www.appleblossommandmore.com. And I'm hoping that I can put that there. I don't know if you're going to actually be able to see it because it's a tiny card, but I will definitely link to her website in the show notes. And this is what she's donated. She has donated 2 patterns, actually two of each of these patterns. The first one is a shawl, which is quite gorgeous. It's called Among the Heather. And I'll try and post a link, but maybe you can see that. It's very nice. It's a triangular shawl, and it looks like it's got, just looking at the picture, it looks like it has 1, 2, maybe 3 charts. I didn't really look at the pattern. Maybe 3 or 4 charts. And it looks like she's got both the chart and the written instructions. So if you are a chart reader, you will like that. And if you have like written instructions, you will like that. So it looks like she has both here. And then the second pattern is Gentle Breezes, and it's a sock pattern. And it's a cabled sock pattern. And again, she has written instructions and chart. So this will be, these 2 patterns together will be one, I don't know, yeah, I think I just got a glare on the camera, but these 2 patterns together will be one of the prizes, and 2 people will get to win this. for the prize drawing next week. So you will get 2 patterns, both of these patterns, and they both are very cool. The sock pattern is a it looks the picture looks like a heavier weight, but it does say, it says the material that she used was Spud and Chloe fine sock yarn. I don't know what that is. I don't know the gauge of that sock. It does say the gauge is 32 stitches and 40 rows per inch in stockinette, so that's pretty small. But that is a very cool looking cable pattern that goes up the front, and a separate cable that seems to go up the side. And this shawl is absolutely beautiful. My plan, I'm going to probably go onto Ravelry and purchase this shawl for myself. On this shawl, she used 2 skeins of Cinnamon Griffin Skinny Bugga. That's what she used in the pattern. But we all know that we can use whatever we want. But that Cinnamon Griffin, I have not tried any of their yarn yet, and I have been going over to their website and checking it out, but I'm on my yarn diet, and I'm determined to stick to it because I'm still going to Stitches Midwest, and I know that I'm going to spend a good bit of money there and get a good bit of yarn, and I really don't need any more yarn. But I do want to try that yarn, and I'm just trying to hold out for now, because I don't know, maybe they'll be at the market and I'll be able to get it there, and then I'll be happy, and everybody will be happy. The next thing that she sent was this, I don't even know how to pronounce this, but it's, this is the yarn, and it's one of those ones that has that's kind of like it's kind of like a ribbon yarn, but it has these big loops, and I think that you can knit these cool scarves, and I'll try and post a picture in here so you can see, but they're really ruffly, and I think it might even be a spiral scarf, I'm not sure, but I think this is the yarn that a couple of girls knit scarves with at the knitting retreat this year, and they turned out very cool. And I think you just knit into these loops somehow. I didn't watch them knit it. They knit it in a couple of hours. They had a scarf complete. But this is pretty darn cool yarn, and this is in the Poppies colorway. And the last thing that she sent, which I have to admit that I've been fondling, she sent a bag of bunny fiber. She has some bunnies, and she sent some of the fiber, and I think it's, I want to say it's Angora. I think it's Angora. Oh my goodness. This fiber is so soft, and it is just so, it is so soft. So somebody is going to be, I don't know how many ounces it is. It seems like it's a pretty short staple length. I would be afraid to spin it. I'm so new to spinning that I don't know what I would do with this fiber. But it is incredibly soft. Somebody is going to be so incredibly lucky to get this. It's kind of a, there's a little bit of grays in it and whites. Again, it is so soft. Now, I don't know. I went to her website when she first emailed me and said she was going to send some prizes. And I really didn't have time at that moment to really check out what she has. Obviously, she has patterns. I can't remember if she sells yarn on there or if she sells the fiber. But if she sells this fiber at some point, I think I'm going to buy some. I don't think I'm quite ready for something like this just yet. And I don't know if you can actually spin this by itself, or if you have to part it with something else. I've only been spinning since March, so I don't know what the rules are. Maybe there's not any rules for spinning, but this is awesome. So again, these things were donated by Apple Blossom and More, and those are going to be just a few of the prizes that I'm going to give next week on the drawing. I have a few books that I'm going to be giving away, and the project bag that I made in yesterday's show, or another project bag. I'm hoping that I have some time to do another one before next week. It took me, the video for the project bag is about 45 minutes. But it took me about an hour and a half because I did stop the video to do part of the project, part of the process, because who wants to watch me cut out, you know, the fabric or sew around every single edge and whatnot. So I did cut out some of that, but I think it took me approximately an hour and a half to make that project bag. And I was kind of rushing, so I would think that if I wasn't rushing, it would probably take approximately 2 hours. And maybe somebody who had not made the bag before, it would take a little bit longer, just because I knew what I was doing. I had done it, I don't know how many times I've made that bag before, but a number of times. So I kind of knew what I was doing. And even my husband, he was helping me with the recording, so I didn't have to get up and stop the camera all the time. He was kind of hanging out with me so I could get it done more quickly, and he was pressing the record button. And I'm just looking at the camera and I'm wondering if I'm actually, I don't know if I moved it or not. Anyway, we'll deal with it because I'm almost done recording now. Anyway, so he was pressing the record button and stopping, so he was like, well, at one point he was like all nervous, like I was going to do something wrong, and I'm like, chill. So those are going to be a couple prizes. I recently learned how to make stitch markers, so if I can get over to Joann's and get some stitch marker beads and whatnot, I might make some stitch markers for the drawing. I haven't decided if I'm going to put any of the hand-dyed yarn in the drawing yet. I gave one, a few weeks ago I had dyed up those 4 skeins, and I gave one of them away in the last prize drawing, and I still haven't re-skeined the other ones yet, and I just keep looking at them and thinking, oh, I want to make socks with this, or I want to do this with that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to give those away yet. I may decide to give one away, or I don't know yet. We'll wait and see. See what strikes my fancy next week when I see how many people enter the drawing. The next thing that's coming up, I mentioned that I want to start the Bacardi knit along. That's going to start next weekend, July 1st. And also on July 1st is the Proverbial Knitter is also starting a Traveling Woman shawl, which I'm going to start. And yesterday, I forgot to put it in my notes, which I almost forgot. Let me think. It's Crazy Kitty. I think it's Crazy Kitty something. Is doing a mystery knit along that starts on the 30th. That's supposed to be like for a very variegated yarn. So because I have so much sock yarn, I think it takes just 100-gram ball of sock yarn. So yesterday I signed up. I think that if you signed up by a specific date, you got it for free. I ended up paying like $5.50 for the pattern. It's not fully released yet because it's just starting. It's a mystery along, but for $5.50, I don't know why I'm thinking I need to do another knit along. So I'm going to be doing 3 knit alongs in July. The Bacardi, which I'm starting for myself, the Traveling Woman's, and now this, I think it's called the Iris Mystery Along. I'm not sure. I will definitely link it in the show notes, so if you want to go and join along too. Again, I think at this point you have to purchase the pattern. Maybe not, I'm not sure, because in the group it says the pattern will be free to participants, but then it says the sign-ups are closed, so I don't know. I just ordered the pattern on Ravelry. It was $5 or $5.50 or something, so I will be doing those 3 knit-alongs, which means I need to get some of these other things completed so I don't feel so overwhelmed, because that's going to be a lot of things going on, and hopefully I have time to do that. Also, I want to mention the Podcaster Challenge that I'm going to be participating in, and that is being held by Knitting's My Bag. And this is a challenge where the viewers of the podcasts, and not just my podcast, other podcasters, I believe Dramatic Knits is doing it, Mary Gale, the girls from Knit One Heart 2, Sheila and Wendy. I think there's a couple more. I think Rain Lover's doing it. I didn't write down all the names, but there's a few podcasters that are doing it. And what's going to happen is that Knitting's My Bag is having a kind of a secret team of viewers that are going to be picking the patterns for the podcasters. And from what I understand, we're all going to be doing different patterns that have the same general technique or something in it. So I believe that's starting sometime in September. I want to say September 1st. But if you want to participate and you want to help pick the patterns, I'll put a link to both Knitting's My Bag. I'll link her Ravelry ID as well as the group where she's posting some information. So if you want to go over there and participate to help choose patterns or whatever. So I'm excited about that, which means if that starts in September, then I need to get all these other mystery alongs and knit alongs done by September, which I think I'm planning on getting. I think I'm going to run the Bacardi from July 1st to September oh, did I say September 30th? I think I did say I was going to run it for 3 months. So, but yeah, the other ones I'll have to get done quicker. Also this week, I have been listening to, and I'm checking my time, the Fiber Love podcast with Jessica. And this is a new podcast. I think she's only got 5 episodes. And I've really been enjoying that this week. It's one of the audio podcasts that I've been listening to when I'm at work. I try and zone out the work noise, so I listen to it on my iPod at work when I'm working. And I think I've listened to all of her episodes, and I'm really enjoying it. I think one thing that really pulled me into it was I'm trying to learn Spanish, and she throws out Spanish phrases every once in a while. I think she lives in, I want to say she lives in Tijuana. I think that's how she says it, in Mexico. But she works in San Diego, and so she speaks English, so it's not like you are having difficult time listening to her. But I guess for me, I'm trying to learn Spanish, so just having somebody throw in those little Spanish phrases every once in a while drew my interest in. So I've been listening to that one. So if you haven't checked out that podcast, go and check out Jessica at Fiber Love, and I will link that in the show notes. Moving right along, Knitopia. I've briefly touched on this in episodes past. I don't touch on it every single week because we are almost out of spaces. I believe that we have enough space for one more person on each weekend, I want to say. I think. The Knitopia is the knitting retreat that I have hosted for the last 3 years. Next year will be the 4th year, And it runs from April 12th to April 22nd. Yep, 11 days. It's awesome. The first year we did a 4-day weekend. We did Thursday through Sunday. And everybody enjoyed it so much. Sunday afternoon we were like, oh man, wouldn't it be nice if we could stay another week? Well, the next year we did the same thing, a 4-day weekend, and it was the same thing. At the end of the weekend it was like, oh, this was so wonderful, we need to stay another week. So this past year I took the plunge and decided I was going to do 2 full weekends and the week in between for anybody who wanted to do a really long retreat. And getting up to the retreat, you know, leading up to it, I was very nervous about doing an 11-day event. I kept thinking, man, that's a long time. And I'm kind of a little bit of a homebody. So 11 days away from home is a lot. So I was wishy-washy back and forth. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Is it going to be too much? Is it going to be, you know, whatever. It was fabulous for 11 days. And we had demos, we had prizes, we had lots of fun and friendship with knitters. We learned a lot. You know, just sitting around and knitting with a bunch of knitters all day was fabulous. I mean, there were so many people doing different things, and you see different projects and different techniques. It's a great event. So it's going to be held April 12th through 22nd. We do have, I want to say, I didn't look at the list, but I want to say we have an opening for each weekend for the sleepovers. We will be having some day spots where people can drive up for the day. So if you live in the southeastern Michigan area or within driving distance of the area, you're welcome to come up for the day. Or if you miss out on the sleepovers and you're coming from out of town, you can always book your own hotel room in Port Huron or a neighboring city to sleep and then come in each day. So that is coming up in April of next year. It's still a long way off, but we are, like I said, we're expecting at least 50 people throughout the 11-day event. I believe we have 21 spots that are sleepovers for each weekend. And then we're going to have day spots where people can drive in for the day, or again, if they want to book their own hotel off-site and then come in and come to knit for the day. Really, everybody goes shopping. There's Mary Maxim in Port Huron, so throughout the weekend and the week, people are running into town and doing things. So not everybody's there all of the time, so really staying off-site is not really a big deal. Come in and join us for knitting for the day, and then go and do your own thing for sleeping or whatever. But that's coming up in April of 2012. The other thing this week, last week I was watching my podcasts. I think I probably watched her on Monday. It was the Proverbial Knitter. She mentioned that she is doing the Master Knitters program. And I have thought about doing the Master Knitters program for a long time. A couple years ago, I even purchased the Basics program just to see if I can, just to get my feet wet, to see if I could stay committed to it in order to actually finish it. And when Tammy mentioned that she was doing it last weekend, I thought, I really should just do it. It's going to be a lot of work, but I should just do it. And then this week, I was renewing my membership and subscription to the Knitters Guild Association. And I was scrolling down and looking at the different options that I could buy. And I saw the Master Knitters again. And I did. I just purchased it. So I purchased it via email. I purchased it late Friday night. So I don't know if they're going to email it to me. We'll see what happens this week. If I don't hear from them next week, I will find out. But so they're going to be emailing me the documentation, and I will probably get started on that in the next few weeks. And maybe this podcast will help me keep moving along with it, because that I've noticed that my knitting has been moving along because I've been trying to get stuff done so I have something new to show you each week. So maybe that will help me too. And maybe I should really pull out the basics program and finish that before I start the Master Knitters, which I might do. I think I threw out all my swatches that I had done because I thought I'm never going to finish this. But I think with these programs, you have as much time as you need. There's no deadline. You just have to make sure that you have the most current version of the material before you submit it. So that's something that's coming up. And also, I want to say how much I love Apple TV. If you don't have Apple TV and you watch podcasts, you need an Apple TV. Because I have an Apple TV and I watch, when I'm at home, I watch all my podcasts on my TV. It's just so much easier. I can get them right through Apple TV, and it's great. The one drawback is some of the podcasts, Steve, Dramatic Knits, I'm talking to you, are not on iTunes yet. Well, they are, but it's hard. You can't do a search for them. I'm not exactly sure what Steve's issue is. I think he said something about his computer doesn't do it. Maybe he can't convert to a certain format to be on iTunes. I'm not sure what the issue is. So I'm hoping that someday soon Steve will be able to get onto iTunes searchable so that I can watch him on my Apple TV along with everybody else. I still watch his show. I just have to watch it either on iTunes because I do have a subscription. I have to watch it on my computer, or I have to go to his website, which is really no big deal, but sometimes I don't remember all the time to go and look. I know he records usually on Saturday. This week I know he recorded on Friday. And it's just easier if it pops up and says, hey, there's a new episode. So, Apple TV. You don't have to have a Mac to have Apple TV. You just have to have wireless internet in your home. And I don't even know, you might even be able to have an Ethernet cable right into the back. I'm not sure. I like it so much that I have 2 of them, one on each TV. And I may even get a 3rd if we get a new TV for the bedroom. But, yeah, Apple TV is wonderful. And I think that is all that I have for you this week. I think we've been going quite a while. It's probably close to an hour, or if not, a little bit over. But that is it. And I hope you enjoyed the show this week. If you have any questions, you can reach me on Ravelry or the blog, Plurk, just about everywhere. All right, that's all for now, and I'm going to go and watch podcast and knit this afternoon. Bye.